Hello and welcome to the second day of AI Summit London. My name is Max Smolaks, editor at AI Business, a publication dedicated to artificial intelligence, and I'm talking to Tamas Szuts, who's the product manager for AI and IoT pillar at Informa. That's our organization. So
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Tamas.
Yeah, thanks, Max. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. So we've seen quite a lot of sessions like over the past 2 days. What are some of the main takeaways for you personally? You know, like have you discovered something interesting and amazing?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a product manager, I was quite interested in the POC to production sessions, and that's where I spend most of my time. So seeing how enterprises can actually operationalize and implement AI is quite interesting for me. And I think some of the key takeaways were maybe the HPE speech. That was quite interesting, where what came out of it is that companies should really start focusing on proof of value rather than proof of concept. AI is already very well proven as a concept. So what we need to look at is how, where can it deliver the most value for an enterprise? And I think the biggest challenges will be in where you get the data to train your AI systems and how you will utilize that data in the end. So how they put it is actually, if it's a proof of concept, whatever is born in the lab will live in the lab and will die in the lab. So we really should look at real life examples of how it's best utilized. And I think the other thing is looking at your team, how you build your team, how you build your data science team, and how diverse your team is that delivers those projects. So these are my main takeaways, I would say, from an enterprise perspective and implementation perspective.
Okay, and in order to kind of encourage diversity, you need to build communities, right? So what is Informa Tech doing specifically to build these kind of like communities around AI?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So basically we launched the VisionAIres community, which launched this year, and its sole purpose is really to bring together those leaders in AI from enterprise or the technology and user side to discuss how they implement AI and to help each other on the route to operationalizing AI. So with regular meetups and hundreds of like-minded people on the platform, it really is an engaging platform and is letting these AI experts really, or AI leaders, to learn from each other and to share experiences to help each other on the route to implementation. So this is actually an enterprise or technology end user only community. It's really a safe place where they can share ideas without anybody trying to sell them anything. So it's I think a great initiative.
Okay, and if our viewers have found it interesting and they want to join the VisionAIres community, how can they do this?
So basically they just have to go to the VisionAIres.ai website. It's spelled actually a bit tricky, so it's VisionAIres. So yeah, make sure you spell that correctly. Then they fill out a form to register, and our community manager will decide whether they're eligible to join. So it's really technology end users, enterprise end users, and certain job titles will be eligible to join.
Okay, and you're in charge of product at AI and IoT pillar, and it's just like obviously two big emerging technologies. Is there anything else that you're currently looking at, like in terms of like emerging technologies landscape and finding that interesting and thinking like, yeah, we should get into that?
Well, I think what we already started is the Quantum Computing Summit that we run across the event series, and that's where we've seen a lot of interesting developments, a lot of new initiatives, and it looks like companies started to talk about it as something more tangible. Things are moving out of the proof of concept side of things, and I really like the amount of people who turned up for our conference sessions on quantum computing. So this is where I see the biggest development in the future, and it feels like QC is currently in a similar state where AI was a couple of years ago. I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening next year.
Let's scale it up.
Yeah.
And okay, so AI market is obviously like there's chaos everywhere. Like everything is at stake. Platforms, like hardware, services. So like to make sense of this, who can businesses turn to? Who could perhaps advise them? Like help them make sense of what's happening in AI.
So we have an expert group of analysts actually, an AI and IoT side within Omdia, which is the research arm of Informa. I think for enterprises in particular, one of the most successful and most useful service that I would recommend is probably the AI Business Toolkit. So the AI Business Toolkit is focusing solely on helping businesses on their journey to implement and operationalize AI. As I mentioned before, there's no real roadmap or blueprint to follow for these guys. So it's really just discussing best practices, ethical AI, a couple of pitfalls that they need to pay attention to, and of course regular trackers and a lot of good information that will help them on their journey to get there.
Okay, well, it sounds like a very good opportunity. And is that something businesses can do for free, or is there a cost attached to it?
Well, there will be a cost attached to it, but if they go on the omdia.com website, they can browse freely in terms of what's available and a short description of all the services, and of course get in touch and let's have a chat about what we can do for you.
Well, thank you for that, Tamas Szuts, product manager at Informa Tech.
Thanks very much, Max. Thanks.